This is Hannibal here from the HannibalTV.com with my weekly review of Dave Meltzer's Wrestling Observer newsletter, the points that I find interesting in it. And there's a lot of news this week, but I have one Great North Wrestling related announcement before I get into the news. For our event next Saturday, August 28th in Kingston, Ontario at the Cataraqui Arena, I am adding a second event at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Tickets are on sale now at ticketweb.ca. More information at thehannibaltv.com. But I have to add a second event because they are being more restrictive with the amount of people that we can let in to the building. And yes, the spectators will have to wear masks. But because we've almost reached the maximum of what we can allow now for the 7 p.m. show, I'm adding a 2 p.m. show. The matches will be different, but similar wrestlers, some different. So let me jump into the news now that I said that. CM Punk made his highly anticipated AEW Rampage debut last night at the AEW Rampage from the United Center in Chicago. I did watch the speech that he gave. What I liked about it is the crowd was full. There was no curtained off area. The crowd was hot. He looked happy, which we haven't seen him happy since he left WWE. He always seemed depressed. So I like to see a full crowd for wrestling. This is a good thing. He has said this is an extended contract and it's a full-time contract, not just a couple of appearances. So can he build on this momentum? Time will tell. What is the rating going to be? The debut episode of Rampage only did a 0.31. So you'd have to think this would be pretty good. AEW's Dynamite debut did a 0.66 and never met a 0.66 again. So the Rampage debut was a lot less than the Dynamite debut. Do I think the CM Punk thing is going to make a 0.66? I'd be surprised if it did. But Raw this week did a 0.55. SmackDown did a 0.58. NXT only did a 0.15. It'll be interesting to see if CM Punk's long-awaited return will beat the Raw and SmackDown ratings of either 0.55 or 0.58. We'll see. NXT has taped a month ahead of time, apparently, because they need to upgrade the Performance Center. Their deal with Full Sail University is over. So now they're always going to be at the Performance Center. And I guess they did an angle with Samoa Joe and Karrion Kross destroying the place. So this was the reason why the plexiglass that they've been using for NXT may very likely be gone. Goldberg said on the bump that his contract goes to the end of 2022, and he only has 2 matches left on his deal after SummerSlam. He was supposed to be working mostly Saudi Arabia shows, according to Dave Meltzer, and he gets about $2 million a match. Also, according to Meltzer. So for the people wondering why he still wrestles, $200 for short matches. $2 million for short matches. Wow. Apparently, WWE had a tryout this week in Vegas for athletes mostly, not necessarily wrestlers. They were looking for big guys and athletic women. These tryouts were held in Las Vegas. They signed 14 of them, apparently, and they're going to report to the Performance Center in mid-October. Some notes about this was they were looking for people 6'2", 220 pounds at least, around 20, no older than 26. And the other thing is they specifically wanted people that would make you stop and look closer if you see them on the street. I agree we need more people like that in wrestling. Athletes that get signed right to WWE, they more not likely than likely ever make it, though. The best thing about the territory system in the older days of wrestling, when they were hiring really the best from the territories that had worked the territories and made a name for themselves, it was people that had the heart and the drive and the determination, and they learned how to get over, and they had proven success. Then WWE would sign them. So to sign people right away and pay them to train and pretty much pamper them, it just doesn't create the personalities like the Roddy Pipers and the Ric Flairs and the Hulk Hogans and the Macho Mans. Plus, you never have to learn how to draw. If you don't know the importance of actually having to draw a crowd to make money, it's very hard to just learn unless you actually have to draw a crowd to make money, because then you'll resort to some stuff that you might not have thought of otherwise. So me personally, I understand they have to sign and create stars, but that's the main issue, because I don't even think they're running NXT house shows yet. That was one of the issues apparently Vince had with NXT, is like they're not even having events in front of crowds. So how are these people going to learn just having matches in training? And yeah, at least AEW, they're signing people that are known on the independents. Well, I might not like the I do admire Orange Cassidy kayfabing and his dedication to his character, but I'm not a fan of that type of wrestling. However, he was on the indies and he did become popular on the indies and he got signed out of that. So I'd rather see people that deserve it get signed. AEW. By the way, Fuego del Sol, who I interviewed a few weeks ago, got officially signed last week, in case I didn't mention it. Good guy. And he is going to be on the October 3rd Wichita World Class Pro Wrestling show that ringside is already sold out at the Cotillion, the historic Cotillion. So more information at worldclassprowrestling.com. Matt Hardy is going to be on that event, as well as the Blood Hunter and the Sandman. The September 22nd AEW show at Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York has 17,148 tickets sold so far. Compare that to the September 10th SmackDown show at Madison Square Garden. Cena's there, and it's a dual branded show. It has 9,489 tickets out. Only 7,000 of those are paid. So Kevin Sullivan, when I interviewed him this week, in an interview you people can look up, actually agreed with me. And he said this as he was taking a piss in the interview, which was hilarious. Nobody's ever taken a piss. Well, they were talking to me before, but he agreed with me that if WWE actually wanted to sell out that Madison Square Garden show, they would do a tribute to Billy Graham. He still has one last Madison Square Garden sellout in him. Those fans that are still around that helped him get that 19 out of 20 main event sellouts in Madison Square Garden, the most consecutive main event sellout records. And the 20th was very close against Peter Maivia, The Rock's grandfather. But those people would come back to see him one more time. But that's not going to happen. But I know some WWE people watch this channel, so I at least have to try to throw that out there because I would personally love to see that. At press time, there's 42,883 seats out for SummerSlam. John Cena has been wrestling dark matches on the house show, pretty much the same match on all the house shows. Meltzer points out that he only does about 40 seconds of actual wrestling in those matches and scores the pin. But he expects that Cena will actually have a long match at SummerSlam. Which, by the way, you have to wear masks at SummerSlam. That's come out. WWE is settling 9 different lawsuits related to Saudi Arabia. One of these is towards stockholders, so I do have some stocks of theirs that I thought would go up when they first had the Fox deal, and I was wrong. They have not gone back for what I originally bought them for yet, although it was up a bit this week. But there is going to be a settlement, and some of the shareholders are supposed to get part of that. Part of the settlement, according to this, is WWE would not have to make a public admission of guilt. The cases are not officially settled yet. They still have to get it approved by the courts and a few other conditions. Apparently, the previous lawsuits that they settled related to this Saudi Arabia situation were for $39 million, which apparently they make $40 million a Saudi Arabia show, but this was paid by insurance anyways. $39 million because they didn't want to go to discovery and have witnesses depose about both the hostage situations in Saudi Arabia involving allegedly the wrestlers and the real details on the flight delays and telling investors that a television deal was around the corner, but apparently that deal was already dead. And apparently their largest previous settlement to this last one for $39 million was the $17 million that went to Martha Hart related to Owen Hart's tragic death. WWE August 13th in Tulsa for the SmackDown taping did 7,100 fans. John Cena was there. The AEW August 13th in Pittsburgh did 5,550 fans with 5,200 paid. The August 14th WWE event in Charlotte, North Carolina, featuring Cena and Charlotte Flair was advertised but didn't appear, drew 7,524 fans. Now, of course, Charlotte Flair was in Mexico with her father, Ric Flair, although she didn't appear on camera during Andrade's match against Kenny Omega in Mexico. The question is, some people have reported, although I couldn't see it mentioned in the Observer this week, maybe I missed it, but some people said she asked for time off and WWE had approved the time off, but didn't let the fans know that she wasn't going to be in Charlotte. And there was chance of we want Charlotte. And apparently there was a lot of disappointment that Charlotte Flair was not in Charlotte, North Carolina, the town where Ric Flair is known to be from. So weird situation that they would continue to advertise her if they knew she wasn't going to be there. August the 15th, WWE was in Columbia, South Carolina, with 6,175 fans with John Cena. It seems like John Cena gets you about over 6,000 fans for the most part. So obviously that's no Hulk Hogan or The Rock or Austin numbers when they were in their peaks, but better than without Cena. Now, I don't think Cena was in San Antonio for the Raw main event tapings. I forget if Goldberg was there. I believe he was. That one did 7,900 fans with 6,500 paid. The August 17th NXT taping in Orlando did 180 fans. The August 18th AEW Dynamite in Houston did 4,750 with 4,400 paid. Bobby Fulton, who I interviewed last Sunday, only about 5 or 6 days ago, was hospitalized. He's 60 years old for spitting up blood. He's battled health problems for the last several years, including throat cancer and other serious health issues. And I'm sorry to hear that. He obviously didn't look well in the interview he did with me, but I didn't think he was that, like, his condition was that bad, and I'm really sorry to hear that. And he got emotional in that interview talking about Bobby Eaton's recent death. So, yeah, I'm sorry to hear that about Bobby Fulton. Eric Embry has been announced as the booker for World Class Pro Wrestling, which I already mentioned earlier. World Class Pro Wrestling is going to be running monthly at Southern Junction in the Dallas area starting on December 11th. And Mick Foley is going to be on that December 11th event, as well as the Von Erichs, Ross, and Marshall, QT Marshall, and more to be announced. In other Texas wrestling news, according to Meltzer, Lacey Atkinson, aka Lacey Von Erich, is co-owner of the SWE Fury promotion now, with Tom Lance, as 3 of the other owners have left. They have also dropped their television show. The first show under Lacey's ownership in Lubbock, Texas, saw Lance Archer, Enzo, Diona Peruzzo, Jacob Fatu, and Crimson advertised, but not there. Enzo was in town but had an issue with his travel and ended up leaving and driving 5 hours to the Pele Pro show, where he made a surprise appearance. Teddy Long, who had been one of the bookers and the television authority figure, is also gone. They also have an upcoming show where they had advertised Scott Steiner, Chavo Guerrero, Teddy Long, Selena De Laurenta, and Alpha Jr. However, they put out further advertising without any of those wrestlers that were initially advertised on the poster. So you can only assume they're probably off the show without any formal announcement regarding it being made. So there seems to be a lot of money issues with that company. Former WWE and ECW star Dawn Marie, who's 50, has tested positive for COVID. In MMA news, Cyril Gane, who just won the interim UFC heavyweight championship from Derek Lewis, made $350,000 for his main event fight on the August 7th pay-per-view. Lewis made $700,000. Gagne said after taxes and paying his coaches and the conversion rates, he ended up with only 188,000. No pay-per-view numbers have been released, but that pay-per-view had the lowest interest of any UFC show in a long time. Meltzer notes, didn't appear that people bought the interim heavyweight title since Francis Ngannou had just fought a few months ago. And of course, Francis Ngannou, in my opinion, although Cyril has fought in this area as getting into the pros, he's from France. Nothing against him, but Francis is the UFC heavyweight champion, but he's having some type of money dispute, which they're underpaying their fighters big time in UFC. So this is why Francis has not fought in months. George St Pierre says he still has about a year or two left on his UFC contract. He was offered a lot of money to box Oscar De La Hoya, but UFC wouldn't allow him to do the match since he was still under contract. He says that he would be open to doing gimmick boxing matches in the future. Khabib has signed a deal to play Russian soccer for FC Legion Dynamo. Apparently, he's extremely famous there, and this seems to be an attendance gimmick. I know nothing about soccer. I did play when I was a kid, but once I discovered the rugby and amateur wrestling and taekwondo, I lost interest in non-combat sports. Carlisle Silva, and I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, the 22-year-old son of Anderson Silva, made his kickboxing debut in California, knocking out Anthony Rainaga in 8 seconds with a head kick. Silva had played in the Premier Soccer League. Morgan Coleman, the 21-year-old daughter of Mark Coleman, is training to make her MMA debut. And Mark Coleman is like sober for a long time now. I think almost 200 days. So congratulations to him. I have a long interview with Mark Coleman that we did in his basement. And I really like Mark. I'd love to do a follow-up interview with him. And even though that was long, there was breaks in it. And I was at his house. It seemed like about 6 hours. That was quite a day. That was a long day because we got up, we covered the Arnold Classic that day. And I'd also done it the day before in the Arnold Sports Hall of Fame that my friend Dan O'Malley helps run. I was invited to the one this year too, but I don't think I'm going to make it. It's happening at the Olympia this year. But anyways, I was expecting that to be like an hour interview with Coleman, and then I was going to drive the whatever it was, 12 or 13 hours back with my camera assistant. And the interview, we ended up being at his house like 5 or 6 hours. So it's like by the time we left, it was like 11 at night. But whatever. That was fun. I'm a nighttime person anyways. Hello, Victor. Robert says Lafayette, Indiana is in the building. Victor Murphy is doing a 420 edition. Well, I did have a couple great workouts today, including an amazing run. It's very hot. It's over 100 degrees out here. So I can enjoy this because I ran over 10 miles. Kill some brain cells, as some people would say. But it's relaxing. Victor Murphy wants to know about PCW. I did interview the owner of PCW Ultra a couple days ago, Joseph Samael, who's also in MLW, who actually gave us a hint that the MLW Dallas show in September has been delayed due to COVID reasons. But PCW is going to see the Blood Hunter against Scorpio and a whole bunch of amazing matches, including Alex Hammerstone, Jacob Fatu, Victoria Vaughn, Ron Simmons, JTG, War Beast. So many great wrestlers. And yeah, check out that interview with Joseph Samel. A lot of people do not like CM Punk. I'm not a CM Punk fan, but as AAA says, the crowd was amazing. I just like to see a crowd full and loud. This was his hometown. He had not appeared in a wrestling ring in a publicly advertised, even though he was kayfabe advertised, everybody knew. Like, this was the first time he appeared since 2014. So, of course, it's going to be a big deal the first time to his fans. Will we be able to see interest stay high? Time will tell. Brandon says it took him back to the good old days of wrestling. I'll be honest, though, I was doing some work while I was listening to his speech, and I can't even remember what the hell he talked about in his speech, so it didn't really grab me. It was more like he was there to help the company and so forth. So there we go. Brandon says he's 6 foot, 235, 36, beer belly. No, you would not be looked at by WWE. They're done the Kevin Owens days, but you're actually taller than Kevin Owens. He's only about 5'10", his legitimate height. Is your beer belly bigger than his? It sounds like it's smaller if you're only 235. So you're about 10 years too late for WWE's hiring practice change. The Centennial, how about they sign people that have charisma and draw money? I agree. That's what I would care about. But I don't have much. Again, I really don't have. Have they produced anyone from scratch other than Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar? Who has been the last ones they've trained from scratch that have become stars? I guess Bray Wyatt, but he wasn't a massive star to the level of John Cena. They trained him from scratch as an athlete. Roman Reigns, did he ever have indie shows? Probably not. I think he was signed straight to WWE too, I believe. L. Allen, I just gave a Bobby Fulton update. Jose, what was the biggest pop I ever heard? One that stands out to me was at SummerSlam 89, I think, in New Jersey, when all they said was it is now time for the Intercontinental Championship match, and it was the Warrior against Rick Rude match. And just at the mention it was the Intercontinental Championship match, the crowd just exploded. And as far as in person, when Hulk Hogan wrestled Jacques Rougeau in 1996 in Montreal, for the only WCW event that ever went to Montreal, which was really a Jacques Rougeau promoted show, kind of disguised as a WCW event, using the first two matches were Quebec wrestlers, and then there was like 5 WCW matches. Jericho was there, Flair, Mongo, Jeff Jarrett, the Faces of Fear, Lex Luger. But when Hogan came out, that was 96, so he had not been to Montreal since his WWE days. And I'm not even sure in the last few years of his WWE days. But Montreal was always a big city to Hogan. So when he came out, and at this point it was the height of the NWO, I do remember that being really loud. And they were also really mad when Jacques beat him. It was like a near riot situation. There was literally fights breaking out. And as I've pointed out, the guardrails actually bent sideways. So strangely enough, I was at WrestleMania 6. Maybe I was too young. I don't remember any really huge pops as a kid or in the Attitude Era. Obviously, Steve Austin got a huge reaction when he came out. Huge pops. But like nothing with that much emotion. Because I could feel like the emotion in the air, both when Hogan came out for that Jacques Rougeau match and when Jacques won. It was like pandemonium. Even more so, believe it or not, I was in Montreal, and now I'm getting way off topic, for the Survivor Series 97. And people will like probably think that the crowd was getting ready to riot and so forth. But they really didn't know. They knew something weird happened, but most of us thought it was part of the show. And I was in grade 9 at that time. But like we all expected the next night in Ottawa that Bret Hart was going to be there. Like, no, I remember because I was also there the next night in Ottawa. And everybody fully expected Bret Hart to be there. Because I'm sure the internet was getting there around 97, but it wasn't anywhere near what it is today. And just news from behind the scene didn't travel that fast. I remember the fans were pissed. They did. The people that really got screwed was not Bret going on to make $3 million or so a year, whatever it was he made in WCW to hardly work. But the fans the next night in Ottawa, because you have to remember a bunch of wrestlers refused to wrestle too, like Mick Foley and some others. So the show was missing not only the Hart Foundation, but I believe the Legion of Doom also didn't wrestle. There was some wrestlers that we were expecting to see that were not there, so it was disappointing, as it always is when advertised wrestlers don't appear. Mr. X, 6'3", 320, but 17 years too late to travel for NXT. Good morning to you, Bob. By the way, I found out this week 80% of my viewers are not subscribers, so please subscribe if you don't already. I'm going to be working on a bunch more interviews. And again, I open with this, so I'll close with this. Next Saturday, August 28th in Kingston, we're adding a second Great North Wrestling event at 2 p.m. due to COVID restrictions forcing us to have smaller crowds. So go to ticketweb.ca. There is a 2 p.m. and a 7 p.m. Great North Wrestling event, and it's going to be a great event. Definitely our only one of the year because this COVID stuff is a pain in the butt.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Support us on Patreon.